Hey, what up, guys? It's Vel here, and today I'm bringing you guys my league starter, the Herald of Agony champion. If you guys know me, I'm not a minion fan. I think minions, bleh. But I don't even feel like this is a minion build. I feel like I'm doing all the damage. I'm not, but I am. It's really tanky. It's gonna be really great for the new Uba bosses. I am so excited to be playing this in 3.18. So in this guide, I'm going to break it down to you from Act 1 all the way down to the mid-range when we finally swap over to the full Herald of Agony setup. Let's start right away with Act 1. In Act 1, we're going to grab Splitting Steel, Chance to Bleed, and Onslaught when we can get it. There's a lot of gems we can also pick up here for our Herald of Agony and when we swap over to Poison Concoction. So we want to be looking out for grabbing Vitality. You can grab that from the quest reward. Get Pierce for your Herald of Agony for Act 2. Get yourself Life Tap because eventually you're going to have the setup that includes Life Tap with it. Decoy Totem is another really great thing to grab, as well as Dash and Steel Skin. They both come off of the same quest, so just grab one from the quest and then buy the other one. You'll also want to watch out for Volley or Lesser Multiple Projectiles, whichever one you prefer. Personally, I like Volley. I feel like the concentration, the way it hits is better for the overlap of Shotgun, but really it's whatever you like. Like maybe you just like the Lesser Multi better, the arc that it does. Entirely up to you. There's also a couple things to look out for when you switch over to Poisonous Concoction. So you get Poisonous Concoction when you hit Merveil's Cave, and you should be about level 12. You have to be level 12 when you wear it. Now, you don't get this from a quest reward. You actually have to buy it from Nessa, and it costs 1 transmute, so make sure you have a transmute around for the swap. You'll also want to keep your eye out anywhere for a shield while leveling, because when you switch over to Poisonous Concoction, you're only going to be wearing a shield, and that is not the same setup you have for Splitting Steel. So it's a good thing to keep in mind, as well as making sure that you can find 3 green, 3 greens for your links. That's going to help you out a lot. For Poisonous Concoction, you want to keep your flasks a little staggered. So you want to have your 2 highest level flasks for your Poison Concoction and 1 lower level for yourself to use for like an oh snap flask, you know, oh snap, I'm dying, you gotta hit this flask. As you can see in the video, my flasks will start taking from the 2 highest, and then eventually when those are out, go on to the other ones. If you don't stagger it out this way, Poisonous Concoction will take from all of your flasks, and that can get really dangerous is all I'll say. So when you're doing the switch to Poison Concoction, make sure that you grab 3 life flasks. Again, 2 of them staggered, 1 of them not. And a good thing to note is the higher the life on your life flask, the more damage it will do for your Poison Concoction. So if you have a little bit of extra currency around to try to roll your flask for a little more life, that will definitely help you out. By the end of Act 1, you're going to want to have Poisonous Concoction, Chance to Poison, and Volley. You can also gain access to Withering Step in Act 1, I think actually from the Merveil Cave as well. And I love, oh, I just bonked the mic. And I love Withering Step. I love it. It gives you elusive, you just run past a bunch of mobs, it hits them with Wither. It's really, really comfortable to, I often use it more than Dash if I don't have space for 2 greens. I may pick Withering Step over Dash and just accept not having a way to jump. So those are going to be pretty important to pick up. I'm telling you, you'll thank me later for the Withering Step. It's going to make your Poisonous Concoction leveling so good. Now we're going to go on to Act 2. Act 2, you're going to want to pick up your Defiance Banner. This is really the only good quest reward you get from saving Helena. You also gain access to Herald of Agony after you save Helena, so you want to buy it from Yina and get that set up with at least the Pierce you got in the first act. Later, after you kill the Weaver, you will also get Vicious Projectiles, so you'll want your Herald of Agony to ideally be linked up with Herald of Agony, Pierce, Vicious Projectiles. Another thing I'm going to say is for Act 2, there's a really good jewel that you can get off of doing the Golden Hand quest. called Survival Instincts. You are definitely going to want that. No matter which concoction you run, Survival Instincts when you're leveling is so comfortable for either one. So I strongly recommend take the extra time out of after getting the Ascend trial. Just go up the stairs, grab the golden hand, and turn that in for the survival secrets. You won't regret it. At this point, you should be running 2-3 links while you're making your way to Act 3. So in Act 3, there's actually not a whole lot to talk about. You're going to want to do the library for minion damage. Also, get void manipulation from the library since we don't get it in Act 1 where it normally is. And by the end of Act 3, you should be finding some 4 links. So ideally, at this point, you should absolutely have your poisonous concoction set up with volley, life tap, and chance to poison. And your Herald of Agony can have your Herald of Agony, pierce, vicious projectiles, and minion damage. You can also pick up Despair here because it is a really nice thing to get for some extra damage. Again, it's a library thing you're gonna have to grab, and it's very worth it. So in Act 4, there's not really much to say about it. 4 links are abundant. Make sure to keep your flasks upgraded. At this point, you can grab yourself your cast when damage taken and a stone golem if you want more regen, or you can get yourself a lightning golem if you're feeling that your regen is good and you want to attack faster. You can also get greater volley by the end of this act, so be sure to swap that out instead of the regular volley. Or if you, again, want to use greater multi, you can use greater multi instead. But volley, it's really just the play here, in my opinion. So the rest of the acts, pretty straightforward. Make sure to go and get your Cruel Lab done by the end of Act 7, beginning of Act 8. Be sure to do your Merciless Lab and get Conqueror before you do Katava. This way you don't have to worry about any resists. And you can have this setup running until you're in yellow maps. So now that you're done the acts, it's time to start making that money, getting into maps. I can tell you that this build can do yellow maps pretty comfortably with what I walked out of acts with. I didn't really have any issue there. So, I mean, I think I was wearing a blue ring. As long as my res was capped, I had enough life, it was fine. You're gonna wanna start saving up your money so you can get the unique pieces that you need to do the transition. So one of the first pieces you can buy is a quill rain. Now, before you transition, you want at least a 5-link quill rain and a 5-link coming calamity. Now, quill rains at the start of the league are insanely cheap. This is a 5-link that I'm looking at. They are 7C. Now, I'm gonna show you 2. This is from Po Ninja for last league, and this is the price history from the league before. Sorry for the flashbang, you're gonna get a few of those. And it looks to be actually about the same. On day 0, it's 7C for a quill rain. This one is not showing the links, but it is indeed showing that they cost basically nothing. You can buy it linked or not. You can link it yourself. You can find plenty of 5-link crafts and harvest, and your poison concoction can do 5 harvest, so it's completely fine. So grab yourself a quill rain. That's one item that you can just check off the list right now. Quill rain, done. All right. Next up is the coming calamity. Now, the best part about coming calamity is that, I mean, without it, your heralds will take too much reservation. So you actually kind of need it. But also on leaguestart, it's really cheap. It shows up the first day and nobody cares about it. So it's really nice. So the price history looks to be like, what, 4C? On the antiquities, it looks like it's even worse, at least in Scourge. But the big hang up on the coming calamity is getting your colors. So I'm gonna go over that right now to tell you how to get your 5 off color. How to get your 5 off color, probably easiest for you. I would personally buy this not 5-linked, not 6-linked. And what I would do is I would roll on 3 greens with the chromatic recipe. Then I would jeweler on the next socket until it hits either a red or a green. And every time it doesn't hit that, I go back to 3 sockets, back to 4, back to 3, back to 4. This is all with bench crafting until I get the red or the green. Now, I think that getting a 4th green is probably going to be easier than getting the red, because at least that's my history with energy bases that I'm trying to get off colors on. So whichever way, you get the red first, you get the green first. This is how you do it. And then the next one up is more expensive. For the 5-link, it costs 70 jewelers. It goes from like 10 for a 4 socket to 70 for a 5. So once you get on that 4th off color, you can just 5th on and Prage, or you can just accept the blue and then change your socket colors via harvest. You can take like a non-green to green or something like that if it goes to blue. That would absolutely work as another way to do it. So Coming Calamity, very cheap, very easy. The hardest part is getting your colors. And again, you'll want it 5-linked, but you can get that in Harvest Craft. It costs 150 fusings. You can probably link it on with less than 150 fusings. It's up to you how you 5-link it. This is the one I want to make sure I said a little more about. Now, the third unique is Calamitous Visions. You don't need this right away, but it definitely adds a good amount of damage to your Herald of Agony. It's really, really comfy to have. So as we can see on Poe Ninja, the price at the beginning of League was 30C. And if we look on the Antiquity site, it was a lot higher than that. Day 1, 0. This is in Scourge though. This is before the Atlas changes. So personally, I think that the 30C is more on par than the 125 now with the new Atlas changes. So that's one that you're going to want to look out for, get your hands on pretty early. It's really, really good for your Herald damage. Really nice to have. The third one, no, this is the fourth one. The fourth one is going to be your Asenath's Chant. Now, this one's another tricky one that I didn't exactly know how to give you guys the price on because it was at the same time they took out Prophecy, they added Fated Uniques to the base game, and as we can see in Poe Ninja, it is very, very cheap this league. Very cheap. 20C, 15Cs. For some odd reason, like 20 days into the league, it went up to 50C. Hi, Smalley. But, hi, Smalley. All right, so yeah, the Asenath's is definitely one that you're going to need this before you switch over. 2 5-links in the Asenath's. The reason being is that Asenath's gives you a trigger, a 0.3 second trigger cooldown. You're going to need this trigger for a bunch of things. So you definitely want to get your hands on an Asenath's, at least one of the triggers, whether it's Asenath's or the next one I'm going to talk about, Maloney's. Now, you don't need this to do your transition. To be honest, I tried a complete transition without even a quiver on and just having the Asenath's, and it was fine. It was completely fine. However, it is one of the more expensive items on the list. And as you can see here, at least last league, it started about 78 to 127. Historically, over the past 2 leagues, day 1, it barely even existed, and then it was at about 100C and dropping down after day 6 to like 67. So this is going to be something that you're going to want for your mid-range Herald of Agony. Shortly after the switch, maybe the next thing that you save up for, I would be keeping my eye open for Maloney's mechanism as soon as you can get it. There are 3 jewels I would also recommend having before you make the transition. Now, one of them is simply just because you need the int, and that's Fertile Minds. At Fertile Minds, very cheap. I'm not even going to bring up the Poe Ninja or the Antiquity database for it. It's just an overall really, really cheap jewel. It will give you the int that you need. So grab one of those when maybe you can find it in the axe, maybe you can find it in a ritual. You're going to want to grab yourself a minion cluster jewel with 8 passives, and what you're primarily looking for on here is Renewal. Ideally, for your end game, you're going to want Renewal, Call to Slaughter, and either Raise and Pillage or Rotten Claws. And the reason being for the either or is because Raise and Pillage and Rotten Claws both will go to this one back area, and we don't take this, so it doesn't matter. But any other combination will push the Renewal to this back area, which makes us waste 2 points. But ideally, when you just set up, even if you just want to roll on a blue 8 passive minion Renewal yourself, you can do that and just run with that, because that's all we're really looking for in the meantime. And maybe one medium cluster for Pure Agony and Invigorating Portents. Now, you're going to want these medium clusters to be 4 or 5 passive, definitely not 6. And what we're really just looking for in there is pure agony, because pure agony is more virulent stacks. More virulent stacks, the better for us. Definitely big time. The most expensive part of the transition is getting the right colors on your coming calamity, your calamitous visions, as we saw historically, and maybe your large cluster. Everything else here is pretty cheap. I also think that, personally, I do think that the Asness Chant is going to be pretty cheap as well and not something to really worry about. And I really hope it's not, because I'm doing this build as my league starter, so please, you know, please. So this is like all you have to worry about when it comes to making your Herald of Agony dreams come true. Once you get these things, I accidentally ran a T16 with like just the transition gear on. I thought I grabbed a T12. I wasn't really paying attention. I made it a little juicy. It worked, but at level 74, it was a little, you know, I could have used some more life before I went that high, you know what I mean? But yeah, it is very comfy. It has done a all open feared, and I hope you guys enjoy the build as much as I do. And have a great league start, guys. See you at the stream.